And hello, everyone. Welcome to our principal information session tonight. We're so glad that you can join us, and we're really excited as we are wrapping up one school year and already beginning to talk with families and students who will be showing up here on our doorstep in August. This is a fantastic school. It's a great place for kids to come and learn about something that they have a deep interest in and hopefully pursue some passions and potentially a career. So we're glad to share some information with you tonight. And we, as Ms. Mowry mentioned, that we're going to take some questions at the end. Hopefully, we're going to answer most of your questions through our slideshow and our discussion. But at the end, we'll give you a chance to ask us some questions and hopefully clear up anything operationally that you want to learn about our school. And if we're not able to answer your question, then we're certainly going to jot it down and take your name down, and we will get the answer to that question and get it out to you as soon as we can. So we're going to start off tonight with some introductions. And so if we go to slide 3, there we are. There's our administrative team. I'm Mr. Gaskell. I'm on the right side. As Ms. Mallory said, I'm the building principal. Mr. Weaver, Mr. Herzog are on the call tonight also, and they are assistant principals here at the high school. Mr. Gillum, Ms. Trusley, who are not on the call. Mr. Gillum works in our student services office. Ms. Trusley is a career tech supervisor and on our administrative team. So that's who we are. And so we kind of divided our talk up tonight into a couple of sections. The first part of this is to just some things to know before school starts. So like between now and August, some things that you should be thinking about and things that we'll ask that families do prior to school starting. And then we're going to talk with you a little bit about what happens when school starts, what schedules are like, what transportation's like, and hopefully answer your questions about that as well. So we don't have too long of a presentation today. So we wanted to just share some nuts and bolts with you and then be able to give you a chance to ask us some questions. So before school starts, we will send out a summer communication like all schools do. We send out a summer newsletter to our families, which gives all of our families welcome and introduction to our school, as well as that proverbial back to school parent to-do list. So just like your homeschool, we have things that we ask families to do, and we've listed in here on this slide. And by all means, you do not need to jot this down. You do not need to remember to do all these things. You will get all this information over the summer, reminding you of what you need to do. But we just want to draw your attention to a couple of these things because they are important to do. And if you get them done before school starts, it makes life a little bit easier. So we're going to talk about this thing called InfoSnap registration, how to set up student meals on your Pay Schools account, how to pay fees through Pay Schools, our free and reduced application, immunizations, talk a little bit about Chromebooks, our school calendar, and our events that'll happen this summer for parents and students to attend our back to school events, and then student parking permits. So let's jump right into it. On our next slide, there's this process called InfoSnap that we use, and this is something that we ask all families to complete, and it's an online registration information where we get personal information about families that you fill out and answer a bunch of questions for us, and it really helps us get our databases updated with family information. So as you can see on this slide, there's going to be an email that will come to you that's going to give you and you can see it comes from noreply@delawareacc.org, and that includes what's called a unique identifier and a snap code that you will use to start this registration process. So you can't do anything until you get that email with your code. And so we often find out, and that's why we put it here. We put it here in the show that oftentimes that email ends up in junk and spam folders. So just be aware that it could be showing up there at some point over the summer, probably in later July, early August. But you want to look for that, and then you use that information to log in and complete the InfoSnap registration. Paying for your student meals on the next slide.
Hey, Jim, can we take a pause real quick? Can you all jump in the chat one more time and give me a thumbs up if you can see the slide that Mr. Gaskill is presenting? We have a couple people say they can't see it. I just want to make sure. Okay, All right, I will troubleshoot with those of you who can't see it, and just know that you will get copies of the slides as well. Thank you.
All right. So paying for student meals, you got to have, obviously students need to have funds on their lunch account. I was just adding funds to my daughter's account over the weekend. We use Pay School Central. And in order to be able to use that Pay School Central, you have to know your student's 6-digit ID number. And so again, you'll get that some point over the summer. So you can't do any of this yet. You'll start getting all this information over the summer and allow you to do these things. But something that is a frequent troubleshooter that we got to troubleshoot with parents, and that is if you already have a Pay Schools account from your home school. In other words, your home school uses Pay Schools, then you're going to need to create a new account for DACC and use a different email address than you're using for your homeschool account. So if you're having trouble with that, try to recall this tip that you got to have your own account for DACC and use a different email address for setting that up. Paying school fees, again, we use Pay School Central on the next slide there. Thank you. We do accept payment through checks, so you can do that. We do ask that fees are paid by September 30th. And you can pay them online. You can use a credit card. And if we know this is always a situation for families to be able to make these payments. So if it would help to set up a payment plan, we're happy to do that too. We'll do whatever we can do to help you with that. Just make sure that you reach out and let us know. Just so you know, also we have what's called a student assistance fund. So if families are struggling financially to pay fees, there is a process that we have here for families to apply for some student assistance to help offset some of the costs of those fees. On the next slide, just like your home schools, if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, you may be able to have some of your student fees waived rather. But just know that in addition to your homeschool, we also need to have our own forms completed. So if you filled out one of those applications for your homeschool, please make sure that you fill one out for us as well. Immunizations on the next slide. I'm sure you've heard this at your home schools, but state of Ohio requires that additional meningitis booster before children start 12th grade. So that shouldn't impact you this coming year unless you will be going into one of our senior only programs like Farm Tech or our after school programs, our flexible learning options. So if that applies to you, please make sure that that you have those immunizations up to date. On the next slide, Chromebooks. As part of the Get Ready for School over the summer. Most of our labs now are one-to-one labs and require students to have Chromebooks for their experience here at the Career Center. So students are welcome to bring their own Chromebooks. Many do, but we do have Chromebooks for sale here if that would be something that you would want to take advantage of. And those Chromebooks, I think, are usually around, $250 or so from us. So use that as a base price. If you can find one cheaper, by all means, please bring your own. We do need to go through a little bit of tech work with those devices. If you bring one to use, in other words, our IT department will need to check it out just to make sure that it can access all of the things that it needs to access here on campus. So we'll take care of that also as part of our schedule pickup and summer programming. So I think, Mr. Weaver, I think you are up for student parking permits.
All right, thank you, sir. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being with us tonight. So I'm going to go through a few slides and then we'll transition over to Mr. Herzog. I'm one of the assistant principals here at DACC and we'll work very closely with a lot of you guys next year when you guys come here. First thing, student parking permits. If you drive here, if you plan to drive here, or even if you think you might be driving here, I would encourage you to go ahead and get a parking permit. The cost of our parking permits here at DACC are typically very much cheaper than what you get at your home schools. They're only $5 each, and they're unique to you and your car, and you have to go through a sign-up process on InfoSnap before school starts. Next one, this is one of the ones that we get a lot of questions on. So our school calendar does not link directly or line up directly with any of our homeschools. There are always a couple differences throughout the calendar. You need to follow as a schedule or as a student, especially half-day students, you need to follow schedules of both of your home district and here at DACC. One of the biggest things to know is that when you have a scheduled day off at your home school, you are still expected to be here at DACC. Now, that does not count like weather delays or anything like that. Weather closings, that is days on the calendar. So when you look at those two calendars, if your home district is closed on a particular day, it's scheduled to be closed, and DACC is open, you are still expected to be here at DACC. Next thing, next slide here, upcoming events. Tomorrow night and Wednesday night, we have acceptance celebration. We have 3 sessions each night. We have 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and 7 p.m. And if you look on the screen here, we have each of those labs that are dedicated for those nights. So make sure that you follow those. If you have any questions about those, I'm sure we're going to be adding that in the chat, or you've even gotten information on those nights already.
Right, and Mr. Weaver, there's a link to, I believe it's on our website, to register for those sessions also,
Okay.
for one of those time slots. So if you haven't done that yet and you're interested in attending the acceptance celebration for your program, either tomorrow night or Wednesday night, make sure that you go find the link to sign up on our school website.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gaskell. A couple other upcoming events that are very important for you to note. We will have a scheduled pickup. It's typically early August. We haven't determined that date yet, but that's an important date for you guys to attend. You receive your schedules, you get to tour the school, solve any of those issues with your Chromebooks. It's an opportunity to pay those school fees. You can get your parking permit, and you can have conversations with counselors if you need to. And then the last one on this slide is just our first day of school is August 17th. Again, that sometimes does not line up directly with that of your homeschool. And if we at DACC start sooner than your homeschool, you're still expected to be here. Transportation gets a little confusing. Just make sure you reach out to your home district's transportation department for any questions about that to line up your transportation to get here.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Weaver, for all that information. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mr. Herzog. I'm one of the assistant principals here. And I'm just excited that you all showed up tonight. Next fall is going to be here before we all know it. So, what you've heard so far is before school starts, and a couple of the items that we're going to cover over the next several slides are things that happen when school starts. So some of those include safety and security plans, student IDs, transportation, a little more detail about transportation. I see there's some questions popping up there in our chat about transportation. We'll answer those for you. Daily schedule, what your schedule looks like here if you're a half-day student, what it looks like here if you are a full-day student, attendance, and then of course weather delays and closing. So we will cover all those here in the next couple of slides. Mr. Weaver, next slide. All right, safety and security. Every day, safety and security of all of our students and our staff is our #1 priority. And just like it is at your home schools. And I want you to know that we keep our outside doors locked at all times. Only, our students entering and leaving. We have staff strategically positioned at entry points and exit points when students come to DACC and leave DACC. We also look for IDs, and we're going to talk more about that here on the next slide. So, we keep the doors locked all day. If you need to leave, you have to follow the process of having your parent sign you out at the main office, and we'll take care of it there. It's not just, we have a lot of doors around DACC. You just can't walk out of them. We have to know where you're at all times. Mr. Weaver, next slide. All right, student IDs and appearance. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have an expectation that every DACC student, regardless of lab, half-day or full-day status, you wear your ID at all times. This is not to be an inconvenience to you, but it's also to make our building more safe. When adults see badges, we all wear badges. We can quickly identify students, who they are, and there's no question if there's somebody that's in the building that shouldn't be. Also, when it comes to adult life and in the workforce, oftentimes employees are now required to wear ID badges on them. So we like to prepare you for that. If you have lost your ID badge, you can purchase a new one for $5. That's an easy process. You just stop in the main office. We take your information, we process that, take the $5, we get you a new ID right then and there. It happens where a student may misplace their ID. Just let us know. Also, part of the education that we believe in here at DACC is that our students dress for success, and that you're prepared to go into the workforce. And obviously, wearing your ID badge, following the student dress code that is outlined, is critical that you do. We'll help you along with that as well. Labs have specific dress protocols that you must follow as well. It's mainly because of safety, but also there's that professional expectation as well, about what people in that industry are wearing. Next slide. Transportation, Mr. Weaver.
Yep. Hi, guys. Back to me. So we do not, for transportation, we do not have a transportation system here at DACC. We rely on each of our home districts to transport students to and from either their home or back to their home schools. I'll go over on this next slide here in a second. Here is our setup of our map for how things operate. I will try to use a laser pointer here so I can show you guys. So as you guys can see here, the red, that is for parent or student drop off and student pickup. So up here is Route 23. This is Glen Parkway right here. This is Peach Blow. Okay, so just give you guys some points of reference. So the red, that is where our student drop off and pickup takes place, and it follows that pattern. The yellow right here is where our buses enter and leave our campus, and this right here is Bus Alley with a little turnaround right here. That's where buses come in and out. All of our bus riders enter and exit through door F, which is right here. We have multiple lots for student parking. Lot A is student parking only. It's only students. The rest of them have a little bit of mix of staff and visitors. Lot B, again, students, staff, visitors. Our main entrance is entrance A right here, and we typically designate that by telling people it's our flagpole entrance. It's the entrance right here where there is a flagpole. Lot C, staff, student, and visitor. Lot D is bus alley, so that's off limits to all cars. Lot E is where student drop off and pickup takes place, but it's also a parking lot. So the southern half down here is our staff, adult ed, and central office visitor parking. And then the northern half of Lot E is additional student parking. Students that park here would need to enter through door M. Students that park in Lot A enter through door FF or walk down this sidewalk and come in door A. Okay. Some of the questions that we got that I would like to answer. Student, will they be on the same bus number both to and from DACC? In most situations, at least in my experience so far here, that is not the case. It's typically a different bus number. But I will tell you that our staff here, myself included, and the other two administrators on the call, we are very helpful. We're out at buses every single day, and we help students to make sure that they get where they need to be. And our bus drivers are also excellent too. They also help with that, or your home district's bus drivers. Timing to coordinate with homeschool team buses for away games. Our day ends at 2:20. Our buses are typically leaving here by 2:25. Depending on where your away game would be, that might be tight or it might be very doable. You might need to coordinate some situation to maybe be picked up here to get back to your school faster to be able to get on that bus to go to that away game. The calendars, though our calendars, unfortunately, I don't know that we have any of our 12 high schools that line up exactly with our calendar. There's always at least a couple differences. On the days, like I said earlier, if you are scheduled to be not in session at your home school and DACC is scheduled to be in session, you are still expected to be here. In those situations, transportation usually looks a little different, but they do provide transportation. You just need to make sure that you coordinate with the transportation department at your home district. Before I move on, is there any transportation questions that have not been answered? Ms. Mowry, have you been monitoring that?
I am keeping an eye on it. Thank you for pausing. Are students attending zoo school required to pay additional parking there?
No, there's no parking fee there.
And then tell us about Camp Lazarus. How do students get up to Camp Lazarus?
So, I mean, if a student drives, they just drive directly there. And then if they are a half-day student, the students that would park at Camp Lazarus, you do not need to buy a parking pass for over there. Same thing if you were by chance an equine student. If you are a half-day student and you drive, you don't need to buy a parking pass for the fairgrounds at the barn. But if you are a full-day student and you plan to drive, you would have to buy a parking pass for here when you're on campus here for your academic classes. If you are a bus rider for both of those programs, for both equine and wildlife, there are transfer buses that your district provides. And you might have to, like if you're a Westerville student where there's multiple high schools, the central bus might be the bus that takes students to those locations from here. But if you're a Westerville South student, you ride here first, get off that bus, get on the central bus and go over there. It's very confusing at first. There will be some frustrations and delays the first week of school, but it becomes second nature very quickly, and we very rarely have any snafus. Any
Wonderful.
other transportation questions?
That's all that's in the chat. For those of you who couldn't see the slides, we dropped a link in to a PDF of the slides. We're currently on page 23. If you want to join us and follow along using that link. And this chat says, if you're a half-day student and you ride the bus to and from DACC when your homeschool is closed and DACC is open, is transportation still provided?
Yes, it looks different. It is still provided, but again, you need to coordinate with your home district transportation department. It doesn't look the exact same as when they are open because most of the students at your home district aren't there that day, but they do provide transportation. By law, they have to provide transportation, but also by law, they do not have to make it convenient for you.
And then just during those first few weeks when it's confusing, will you be out there kind of helping students find the right bus for them?
Not even just during the first few weeks. We're out there every single day, 3 times a day. We were out there today. So yes, we will be out there to help you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
All
Mr.
right.
Herzog, you're up.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Daily schedule. What does a day look like for an incoming junior or level 1 student? So basically, if you're a half-day junior, you're scheduled to be in your level 1 lab here from 7:50 to 10:50 for that 3-hour block of time. That is class time. And if you're a zoo school level 1 student, you will attend from 12:30 to 3. Okay, so that's one of the anomalies there. If you're a full day junior though, once you finish up with your lab in the morning at 10:50, you'll actually go right into your first academic class of the day. You'll have one academic class, then you'll go to the lunch, then you'll come back to academics for 3 periods. So one of the things, and it's highlighted in yellow and bolded, and I need everybody on the call to really listen to this because we don't like to see students go without eating or have scheduling conflicts with their homeschool at the start of the year. Half-day students must have a lunch period scheduled at their homeschool. Okay, it is because we only serve lunch here to our full day students. Your homeschools are aware of this, but what I'm saying to you is I would make a point to call your school counselor at your homeschool and make sure that they have a lunch period scheduled for you when you return back to your homeschool, okay, in the afternoon. What time that is, I don't know exactly because it depends on the bus and what district you're going to. But when you leave here at 10:50 and go back to your homeschool, it's likely you're going to be going into a lunch period shortly thereafter. But I would be calling and having that conversation with your school counselor now at this point because they're just like every other school. They're in the middle of doing scheduling at this point. So please make sure that you take care of that. All right, next slide. Attendance. Real quick, there's a lot of words on these next couple slides. I'm not going to go over everything, just point out a few of the highlights. Obviously, people are going to get sick or need to miss for various reasons. We like to call those unexpected absences. We have an online DACC report an absence Google form that is our preferred method that parents can communicate in absence. We ask that you do that or fill that form out before 9 a.m. The morning of the absence, or provide a written note excusing the absence upon your return. Okay. Students are allowed to have up to 12 absences per year for our attendance policy here. Anything beyond the 12th absence of school requires an official note, like a doctor's note or a court note or something official that we can go in and mark it excused. But students are only allowed to have 12 excused absences. That's a combination of unexcused, parent call in, and parent notes. Okay. We have what's called a prearranged absence form in our front office. It's a yellow form. Students can walk by, grab that. If you know you're going to be out, grab one of those forms, fill it out, bring it back 3 days prior to your absence. Yes, it counts. Likely it might count one of your 12 absences, but we at least get that marked in attendance early on, so you don't receive a phone call that your child has missed school that day. And the last thing that's highlighted here in yellow and in bold, you've heard it from Mr. Weaver a couple different times. I just want to make sure, if a homeschool is closed, example, a teacher workday, or it's a scheduled day off on their calendar and DACC is open, students are expected to be in class and attending. Transportation is still provided. It looks different than usual, but that transportation is still provided. We do mark students absent for being absent on those days. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. Real quick, there's some information about certain days that we have that are remote days. And if students are engaging in those remote days, which, it's entire school here for the most part, when we do have them, they will have assignments that they need to do for their classes on those days. The submission of those assignments, not how well you do on them, but the submission of those assignments to your instructors by the deadline is what they use to mark your attendance on those days. We have to have something to prove that you were engaged in schoolwork that day to count you present. Just real quick, state truancy laws. We follow the House Bill 410 state truancy laws here at DACC. There's different letters and notifications that get sent out. I don't want to go into detail of all that. I could talk for an hour on it. Medical excuses do not count toward either of the above categories that you see, though. That's the only thing so I always encourage parents to bring in medical notes when they see a doctor or have an appointment. All right, next slide.
All right, guys, back
Yep.
to me. Weather delays and closings. So this is one of the challenging aspects of us here at DACC, because we have 12 high schools that do come to us. So there's often situations where some are on delay, some might be closed, we might be open. So the biggest thing is to try to pay attention to notifications. On the next slide that I have, it shows you our app that we have that will send you notifications of those things. So we will encourage you to add that app to your smartphones. But when we do have weather delays and closing, it does present issues. We have various scenarios, pretty much all scenarios that could happen we have on our website. So if you go to our website and find something that looks very similar to what we have on the right-hand side, that's any situation that could occur when it comes to weather with your home district and what DACC is. The long bullet here, the fourth bullet down, one thing to note, if DACC is open, students are welcome to attend, but we recommend following the direction of your home district. So if you are a student in a district that goes on a 2-hour delay, but DACC does not go on a delay, you're welcome to come first thing in the morning, but there's probably a chance that you need to follow the direction of why you're on a delay and follow that 2-hour delay for when you come here. Again, if your school is closed, but DACC is open, or we are only on a delay, you can come in once that our delay is over, or at the beginning of the day if we're not on anything, but your home district is on a delay or closed for a reason, and we recommend you follow the direction of that for your safety. The
Mr.
DACC
Weaver,
app. Yep.
I apologize. Before you go further, can we revisit the 504 documentation, I just have a question here that might be worth asking out loud. How is 504 documentation from homeschool obtained by DACC? And is there anything that needs to be done by the parent to facilitate that? And then if there's a medical issue under 504 and the 12 hours do not apply, is that correct?
So they'll work through their homeschool counselor, and if they are a half-day student, our counselor, we have what's called VOCEs. So there are intervention specialists that work directly with our labs. So they will work through all meetings with their homeschool counselors. If it's a full day student, we will receive all of the information from their 504 or IEP or any type of plan from the homeschool counselors. We will get that and we will institute everything associated with that here.
Wonderful. And then if DACC is closed for half the day, but they are supposed to return to their other school for half of the day, what is their expectation for that half the day that their homeschool is closed? Does that make sense? So their half day with us,
Yep.
we're open, their homeschool is closed.
Oh, so yeah, if your homeschool is closed, well, first of all, you don't have to come here at all because you're like we said, your homeschool is closed for a reason. So in the error on the side of caution for your safety. But for that other half of the day, if your homeschool is closed and you do decide to come here, the other half of the day, you can just go home.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So on the screen now, we have our app. So we would encourage you to go to your App Store, your Google Play Store, to search Delaware Area Career Center. Do not search DACC. It's a different app. So be sure to search Delaware Area Career Center, and you get easy access to all that information. And we send notifications. I definitely encourage you to do that. I've signed up for that, so I think it's a really good idea, and it helps you to be in the know. So here are some more questions. Make sure we have answers to these. Let me read through them. Yes, we do still monitor attendance. Our zoo school instructor submits attendance just like all of our other instructors. So yes, we would have to have that. All of our zoo school students are half-day students, so you would need to submit that absence to both schools, both the homeschool, home district high school, and us here at DACC. And then zoo school does follow our delays and cancellations. They do not have their own. They follow what we do here. Yes, notifications. Like I said, just go ahead and sign up for that app and you'll be good to go. You'll get them just like anyone else. And I'll let Mr. Herzog answer the general one as he's the scheduling guru.
If students start out with an academic class at homeschool and can they switch to DACC if they change their mind after school starts? It's not a straightforward answer. There's a couple of things that play. Depends on what the student is taking at their homeschool. I can tell you if there's any change to be made, if it happens in the first week or two, it's much more likely to happen for the school year. If it's beyond that, it's possible based on the course offerings that we have here, and if we have space available. That's another piece that we have to factor in if there's actual space. We would likely make that change at the end of the semester or the start of the new semester. So for us, it would be when January hits. That's if the student's schedule aligned and we had space in our full day academics.
All right. Any additional questions?
All right. So thank you very much, team, for all that information. We know it's kind of overload. That's a lot of stuff there. Students attending our school, especially the transportation piece, getting to and from our school, can seem complicated. But as Mr. Weaver alluded to, because we don't have our own transportation system and we rely on our home schools, it really is pretty smooth after you start to experience it. But you do have to, we have to work together to figure out where we get everybody to. But just just want to make sure, I'll say it again. Mr. Weaver is out in bus alley just about every day. And if he's not, somebody is. And we hold the buses and we're on radio communication inside to make sure that our halls are clear and that we don't have anybody working their way down to the bus alley to get on a bus. So we make sure that we don't leave any students stranded. And if you've been in our school before, you know that it's a really long trip from our high bay labs on the south end of the building to get all the way up to the bus loops that's up on the north end. So we make sure we hold our buses and we make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. So with that said, I know that Ms. Mallory has been doing a phenomenal job of trying to answer questions as they've surfaced in the chat. So we will take a moment and pause. And if there are additional questions that we need to try to answer for you, we're happy to do that at this time.
All right, I do have a few for you. So when there is a 1 or 2 hour delay, does the half day lab still end at 10:50?
Well, so there's a different question. So our most typical situation is all of the schools in Delaware County are on a 2 hour delay, and then Westerville and Worthington do not go on a delay. So in order to accommodate those situations in their home district transportation, our students that are on a delay, they do not end at 10:50. They now end at 11:19. Our students from those districts that are not on a delay, we kind of give their home district transportation an option. If they still need to pick them up at 10:50 to maintain their schedule, because transportation departments get really crazy, we accommodate that and we release those students at that time so we can help them out.
All right, so let's flip one of the scenarios you gave around and say if DACC is closed and the student is half day at their associate school, do they stay at their associate school all day? Are they free to do whatever they need to do for half the day and then report to their associate school? And this could be weather or special closed day.
Yep. So when DACC is closed, whether it's weather or by schedule, we're closed. So no students come here at all, either of those situations. If a student can find their own transportation to and from their home school during the time when they're supposed to be there, they're not obligated to be there during their time where they're supposed to be at DACC. If they are a student that needs to ride the bus, in most situations, the buses only pick up and drop off at bus stops or houses at the very first thing in the morning or at the very end of the day. They do not do that midday pickup or drop off. So if a student needs to ride a bus, they typically would get picked up first thing in the morning. So for everyone on this call, for the most part, that's an AM lab student, you would go to your home district high school. They would have an area for all the DACC students to have basically like an open study hall. And then you attend your academics for the rest of the day there as scheduled.
All right. And I'd say transportation is the bulk of part of the logistical questions that come up. So thank you guys for hanging with us on this.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Besides zoo school, do all half-day students arrive in the morning?
No. So zoo school is the only one that's flipped. It's the only one that level 1 is in the afternoon and level 2 is in the morning. Every other program, level 1 is in the morning, and then level 2 is in the afternoon, with the exception of our pharmacy program, which is senior only. Right. And that is, there's an AM session and there's a PM session, but you get scheduled directly into one of those.
And if you're somebody wondering what's the difference between level 1 and level 2, most of our juniors are level 1, most of our seniors are level 2.
Yep.
Yes, the recording will be sent out so that you can get this. It'll probably be in another day or two. If you download the app, can you find this information on it? Not this particular presentation, but all of the alerts. Yes, you can find that on our app. Are zoo school students considered half day even if they are doing academics at DACC?
I don't know that we have any full day zoo school.
We don't have any full day zoo students because their program's offered in the afternoon when our academics are offered.
Yeah, so it doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a good one. What can my student do if she has all 3 of her home periods left but doesn't have room for a lunch?
That needs to be a conversation with your homeschool counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, we asked that our homeschool counselors work out a plan to provide lunch when students return. As someone who worked in a high school that sent kids to DACC previously in my career, that was a challenge. And so sometimes we get it that the courses that kids still need to take in order to be able to meet all graduation requirements, sometimes those slots in a homeschool schedule fill up. But so it is, important that the homeschool figures out how to make sure that kids get lunches. And we will work with, there are certain circumstances, and we work with kids and families because we don't want to see anybody go without a lunch. But it really is the expectation that for our half-day students that the homeschool take care of that lunch schedule.
Okay, and then last one, and I'll address a couple others in the chat so you guys can keep moving forward. What if a student is in marching band at their home school and required to be in attendance for 8th period?
Unfortunately, that's one of those situations that surfaces every year. That is, in fact, my daughter who wanted to come here, actually, she participates in choir and theater, and so unfortunately, she had to make a decision as to whether or not she wanted to attend this school or whether she wanted to participate in that program at her home school, and so that was a choice that she had to make. So unfortunately, we are not able to accommodate all of those choices. So to answer the question is, if marching band is something that you want to be a part of and it conflicts with the schedule that you would have here at DACC, well, you can't do both. So unfortunately, you're going to have to choose which one to participate in and do that. So we wish it were different, but unfortunately, it's not.
Right. And in the event that the student is a full day, and I saw the question, is 8th period, I am assuming that that's in the afternoon for the homeschool. If the student is currently enrolled to be a full day, if they want to do marching band at their home high school, maybe a half day option with us is the answer to that.
Correct.
All right, I'm going to let you guys keep moving forward, and I'll keep answering questions on the back end.
Actually, Alicia, we're done with our
Oh,
presentation,
you're done.
so we
Oh,
could just do questions right
Yep.
now.
Perfect. All right. So feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get them, or if you need to unmute yourself and ask a question, they can answer those. So you mentioned only full-time students are offered the cafeteria, so a zoo school student cannot use the cafeteria.
Yeah, our zoo school students typically don't come here
Correct.
to
Yeah.
DACC campus almost ever. They have a couple things here and there where they show up here, but really, for the most part, they're either there or at their home schools.
And then what happens if a student is absent for more than 12 days?
I can answer that. So students are allowed to have, like I said, 12 absences per year. After the 12th absence, they become unexcused unless you have a medical note or a doctor or a court note or something official to give reason for why the student has been absent. Somebody asked a question earlier I saw pop up in the chat about, do doctor's notes count toward those 12? They do not. So as long as a student is bringing in a dental note, a doctor's note, something from their physician saying that they were with me today, that would not count toward that 12.
All right. Talk to us about dress code. What does it look like, and can parents find information about it?
Yeah, so you will have, so here, when you get your info SNAP registration, one of the things that students and parents will sign off on is our student handbook. In our student handbook, we have our professional dress requirements listed there. That's just in general for all of our student body. We also have most of our labs actually require a specific uniform that is very relevant to the lab in which they are there for.
And then if they attend in the morning and wear that uniform, do they change before they go back to their homeschool, or do they wear that back to their homeschool?
That's up to them. That's personal preference.
Yep.
They'll have the ability to change before they go back. We do have some like changing rooms here where and restrooms. We have single restrooms where students have the opportunity to change. But for what we've observed as administrators, for the most part, our students, out of convenience, just typically end up wearing their uniform back to their homeschool and maybe just changing a shirt or something at some point there.
Since zoo school students occasionally come to our main campus, do they need a parking pass for those times that they do park on our campus lot?
I don't think we've required that in the past, have we? Because there's
I don't think
there's
so.
very few
No,
occurrences that
we have
happens.
not. Right.
It's a
Right.
great question. So power sports students, do they need a personal laptop?
It is one of our one-to-one labs, and I think that's offered. So like they'll have the option to either bring their own or get one through DACC.
All right. If students are in clubs or sports at their home school, do they still participate in those at their home school?
Yes. And
Yes.
actually, so for most of the people on the call, you guys are all new students, which means most of you are going to be here in the morning. If you're a full day student, your bus will take you back to your home school at the end of the day, and you'll be able to participate in those. If you're a half day student, you'll be at your home school at the end of the day anyways, and you'll be able to do those.
Do students have access to lockers?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
All right. Can students use their home school issued Chromebook for DACC?
Yes,
Yes.
they can. I think that our technology department will work with all students to make sure that they are compatible with our system over here. Occasionally, we run into situations where school issued Chromebooks don't function properly, and our IT department reaches out and talks to that homeschool district's IT department to try to figure out how to resolve that. But yes, they can use those here.
Okay. Any other questions we can? Let's see. Does it have to be a Chromebook? Can it be a PC or a Mac?
It can be either any of those.
Yeah.
All right. What are our rules on phone usage in classes? You guys are full of great questions.
I can talk a little bit about that. You know, there are times where our instructors may have an instructional activity planned in their lab or their classroom where use of a cell phone may be appropriate. But as a general guideline, we expect our students to be engaged in the classwork and their lesson for the day. So we do encourage students to keep those. You know, we know that students have them, obviously, but we want them to not be a distraction to the learning process here. So while you know we don't ban them from being in the building or anything like that, students need to use them responsibly and abide by the individual classroom rules or expectations that a teacher sets out and say, okay, everybody needs to put their cell phone away at this time.
So Marissa is asking, how is state testing going to work? I don't know if you need more clarification on that question.
Well, you know, maybe, but if you're a half-day student, then you take your state testing at your home school. If you're a full-day student, then for those tests that for the courses that we offer here, that we would administer those here on those specific days. So half-day students, take care of that at your home school. Full-day, we take care of it here.
Okay. Let's see. So going back to parking permits, if a student has to kind of switch up cars, trade with family members, is the parking pass, does the parking pass follow the student or does it follow the car?
Just if you can move the pass to whatever car you're driving that day, the important thing is that we're able to identify the owner of the vehicle. So if yeah, just move the pass to whatever vehicle you're driving that day. You do not need to buy multiple passes.
Okay. And we had a question that I answered in the chat about first year students attending, whether they attend in the morning or the afternoon, but I know that probably requires a little more clarification because of CBI and pharmacy. So can you guys just clarify how students know whether they should be coming in the morning or the afternoon?
If you're a first year student, you are attending the morning with the exception of 2 exceptions, maybe 3. If you're a new CBI 10 student, you would be in the afternoon.
Correct.
CBI 9 is in the morning. Pharmacy AM is in the morning. Pharmacy PM is in the afternoon. And zoo school is switched. Level 1 is in the level 1 is in the afternoon. Level 2 is in the morning. And that is because level 2 does their internships And that's when the animals are most active in the morning. So that's why that has been switched.
All right, and then I have one more question in the chat so far. How does tardiness impact attendance?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. So in general, well, tardiness is tardiness, so it adds up to hours missed from school. Minutes add up to hours. You know, if students are consistently 5 minutes tardy to school, that 5 minutes is going to eventually add up to hitting certain hour thresholds associated with House Bill 410, the state truancy laws. You know, tardiness is considered to be unexcused. Also, the other thing I'd like to point out, we didn't mention it, but we do have a policy that every third tardy students acquire equals a Saturday school that we give out to students. You know, we try to avoid that at all costs, obviously, but you know, we need students to be here on time. It's an employability skill. It's a trait that employers need, and we feel strongly we have to enforce that here, and we have to train our students to be timely.
All right, and I think that answers the other question of are there detentions at DACC? Is there any
Yes.
elaboration you guys would like to provide on that?
We have just like homeschools, we have a code of conduct that students are expected to abide by. And yes, if there are violations, there are school consequences, the same kinds of consequences that you have at your home schools. So yeah, so that's probably the best way to talk about that. And I see some other questions about tardiness and what happens. You know, at a career center, we, in addition to teaching students technical skills about their program, we also are very concerned about teaching kids employability skills. And part of that, you know, that is helping kids have the skills they need to be successful on the job, like being able to work on a team, to have leadership, to be in class consistently, to be on time to class. And those are all things that future employers look for in folks when they are maybe going to hire them for a job. So is it important to be in class on time? Absolutely it is. And your instructors will reinforce that when you get here in the fall. And I know we're getting close to 8 o'clock, which is the end of our session. And I'm kind of smiling a little bit as we are answering questions, and it's like the administrators of the school only deal with, you know, things that are to get kids in trouble, right? And that's not the case for us. So we are you know, I'll say we are a really fun administrative team. We have a lot of fun. We like to hang out with our kids at lunchtime, those who are here, and learn who our kids are socially and personally. But we also have opportunities for kids to get involved with our school. We listen to our students. We have groups in which we meet with kids to talk about life at our school and what's good and what's not good and how do we make it better. You know, one of the things that we added this year, and I think it's going to blossom even more next year, is we added an esports team. Now, you probably have esports teams. Most of our homeschools have them, but we didn't have that here. But now we have a way for students to connect additionally to our school. So, you know, we want you to know that yes, there are guidelines for behavior and things that we expect kids to do, but there's also ways to get involved and have fun. And our kids really do have fun when they come to class, come to school here. And we have noticed, all of us on the call have worked in other high schools, but kids come to this school because they want to be here. They're interested in the program that they signed up for. And it really is, there's a different and a really good feeling about DACC, and the kids really gel. The kids and teachers, they really gel. There's a purpose, there's a focus, and it's a great place to be. So, you know, I just wanted to say that before we got off the call. And Ms. Mallory, I don't know if we're out of time or if there's anything else that we need to answer before we jump off.
So what I'll tell you is we'll hang on for a few more minutes just to answer any lingering questions. If anyone has to leave, we totally understand. We told you we'd keep you for an hour. I do ask one more time. if this was helpful to you, this is something new we started last year because of COVID, but then found that it was beneficial to do this remotely. If this was helpful to you, could you just give us another thumbs up in that chat so that we know whether or not you got what you needed? And then just remember that this is not your last opportunity to hear from our school or these gentlemen. You can always call our school. You'll get more information from us. Oh, wonderful. Extremely helpful. Tina says big help. We're getting thumbs up. Thanks, Rebecca.
Hey, Ms. Mary, I'll add on to what you just said about this isn't the last opportunity. We have 2 evenings coming up of acceptance celebration. We will be here. If you guys think of a question, you're welcome to come find us. You see what we look like now, so come find us.
Sorry.
We'll be out in the commons. We'll be out and about. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to talk to us.
And we did have another question. I apologize. We had another question in the chat before I buried them and everyone's thumbs up. Can a student mix and match, maybe have a parent drop them off in the morning and then ride the bus in the afternoon?
Yes, and that doesn't even have to stay consistent day to day.
Okay.
Yep, that can, yep.
I have a question. This is Kristen Makita, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
Our daughter is in the zoo school program and she is considered full-time. She's going to take classes in the morning and then go to the zoo in the afternoon. So I guess I was a little confused.
Yeah,
at
well,
what people were
We'll have to check with our
mentioning.
counselor for zoo
Yeah,
school.
that
That's the
might
first
be
that I've heard of that
a
type of a
very,
situation.
yeah, exactly.
Well, she's coming from Marburn, so we decided to send her full-time.
Yeah, and maybe that is the case and we coordinated it, but I would just double check with the counselor.
We should double check with the counselor, or?
I would say you go ahead and double check with the counselor. The counselor is Allison Cox.
Okay,
And I will also double check with the counselor. That way we hit her from both sides and make sure that we get the answer. She
okay,
will
because
be here
that's,
tomorrow night too. Or whichever night our counselors will
yeah,
be here. the
we're
night
we're
of the-
tomorrow at the zoo. Yeah, okay, yeah,
Oh, it's at the zoo?
Yeah, we're at the
She
zoo.
will not be there. But I would
Okay.
also, Miss Cunningham at the zoo, she's extremely knowledgeable as well.
Yes.
So I would double check with her too.
Yeah, because I know we signed up full-time just with being at Marburn. We wanted
Okay.
to just send her full-time and,
Yep, we will check on that.
okay.
And I
Thank
just dropped a link into the chat for contacts for all of our counselors in case you need that phone number.
Excellent.
You'll have that
Okay.
handy.
Thank you.
And what was your name again?
Kristen Makita, it's Mikita is the last name. And
Okay.
Ariana is my daughter.
Got it.
Ariana.
I will check with Miss Cox tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Maria asked, do parents accompany the students for the welcoming celebration? We would love for a parent to come along with their student for you to see our school and experience the atmosphere here. Like Mr. Gaskell said, it's really exciting to have so many students that are excited to be here all come together. So we would love to have you. All right. Thanks, Blaine. You have a great night too. Architha, the acceptance celebration is at 5. Did you register for it? Because there are 2 nights. We want to make sure you show up on the right night.
Yes, I did register for the celebration.
Oh, good. Yep, it starts at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll give everybody a chance to sign off, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. All right, I'm going to close it out. Have a great night, everyone.
See you guys.
See you.
Thanks, Alicia.
Yes, thank you very much.